All right, welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana.
I'm your host, May.
I'm so excited to
That
see
never
you
gets easier to
guys.
say.
Yes, it is getting easier. Our guest today, we have a dynamic duo again, just like last week, a very special dynamic duo, the Fallon and Ava King. So excited to have you ladies on here. So, Fallon and Ava are sisters. They've both been practicing yoga on and off for about 15 years. They're from Pittsburgh, but they live in New York City now together. And a fun fact about Ava is that she loves to cook. A fun fact about Fallon is that she's obsessed with music and loves to make playlists. So, Fallon and May will be able to
Chat.
chat on that whole thing for sure. But how are you girls? It's so good to see you.
Great. Thank you. We're so
Yeah.
excited. We were looking forward to this all week.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes.
So I texted May. If anyone, for all of our listeners, you guys all know that we have a ongoing, never-ending list of so many people that we want to have on the show. And so at this point, it's really like the hardest part is deciding like who we're going to ask officially and when we're going to squeeze them in. So I texted May and I was like, we should ask my turtleneck friends. And May responded like she knew exactly. She made me think, she was like, oh yeah, your turtleneck friends. Great. And then we're like moving on. And I said something about Fallon and Ava. And she's like, okay, but wait, let's go back to your turtleneck friends. What does that mean? And I was like, oh, that's Fallon and Ava. And she's like,
I love that
oh.
we're known as the turtleneck friends. And
You're
also we
actually both wearing
both
turtlenecks right now,
we're
too.
both wearing our Fallon and Ava turtlenecks right now. And then that wasn't planned. That's just how often we wear them. So
Of course. Well, I want to save that. We're definitely going to get into it, but I want to save that for down the road. The first question that we always ask everyone. Actually, I haven't asked you, May. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I thought you were going to ask me my signs again. And I was like, you already
Like
fucking know this one.
everybody knows. What are your zodiac signs? And if you know your big three, you can tell us. But if you just know your sun, no big deal.
I am Aquarius, but I have no idea what any of my risings or suns are. I don't pay attention to it, but I am Aquarius.
I'm Sagittarius, and I also don't know my other ones.
Well, next time we're together, we'll have to look those up.
Yeah, you
Yes.
can let me
It's
know,
just
Montana.
fun. It's just
It is
fun. I
fun.
don't know much about it, but I do know May and I found a thing on Google that you can type in your birth time and place, city, and it just pops up. And we're like, okay, cool. What's this mean? We don't know. But yeah, cool. Well, I know Fallon and Ava because to make a long story short, Ava
Wow.
grew up dancing just like I did. And when I graduated from school, she was taking private lessons with a girl that I went to college with who was moving to LA or New York. And so her mom said, well, who are we going to, work with now that you're leaving? And she just happened to connect us, me with them. And what started as just like a dance teacher giving private lessons to Ava to prepare her for school turned into truly a sisterhood. And Fallon and Ava are like my sisters, and their mom and dad are like my Pittsburgh parents. So I could go on, but
We love you. Yeah, we really do think of you as a third sister, and it was fate that you were meant to be Ava's dance instructor for a little bit, and it blossomed into a beautiful sisterhood.
yeah, it's very true. And for those of you that have been listening, you know that I don't dance anymore, and Ava doesn't either. So at the same time, yeah, we were both like, we're good. Ava's like about to go to college, and she's like, I don't think I want to go for dance anymore. Do you think that's a bad idea? And I was like, if you don't want to go, do not go. And it was so
Yeah,
great.
you were actually like helpful in preparing me for all of my auditions, but then also being like my life coach when it comes to the world of dance and the future of that. So I appreciate both for sure.
Yeah, it's mutual. It's mutual. All right. So going back a little bit, can you guys just tell us and our listeners about just who you are and where you come from and just a little bit about your backstory and your background? Fallon, you want to start?
Sure. So I well, you said we're from Pittsburgh, but I've wanted to live in New York since I was 7 years old, pretty much. I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer since I was 7 years old. So I felt like New York was just meant for me always. I remember I found this, recently I found this poem that I wrote when I was in second grade about New York, and I hadn't even visited it yet. So it was just like always in me. There was something that I just loved about the city. And so I've been living in New York for 9 years. It'll be 10 years in August. So I think that will make me an official New Yorker, which I'm super excited about. But I went to FIT for school. So I moved here when I was 18 to go to FIT. I studied fashion design and interned at a bunch of fashion houses during college, and then started working at Saatchi and Bobby. I am still their senior designer there, and I also design embroideries for Carolina Herrera, in addition to starting a brand with Ava called Fallon and Ava. So I basically am, doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. So I'm just loving life right now.
That's amazing. I was visiting them a couple Marches ago, and I can't even remember where we were, but Fallon saw this dress on this mannequin. She's like, "Oh, this is my embroidery." I think I might be saying the wrong words. And I literally we're in the department store and I'm just like crying. And they were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I just can't believe that you made this." I was like, "We're in New York City and this is on a mannequin." So I have like it's so surreal. It's crazy. It's like, it's hard for me to like wrap my head around it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Fallon's playing fashion designer." And it's like, no, she's actually doing it.
Yeah, well, sometimes I have to remind myself of that too. And when you had that moment, that made me feel like so good, because it, like, when you're in it, you like forget, sometimes that it's like, oh wow, I actually am like, doing what I've always wanted to do. So that was really sweet. Your reaction, that almost made me cry.
Our parents didn't take it seriously when she was like 6 years old, drawing sketches and
Yeah.
But then
but look at you now.
But then they took me to fashion camp when I was in 8th grade, and in New York City, and then that's when my mom was finally like, "Okay, I think she's gonna do this."
Yeah.
So
That's
So, yeah.
awesome. Ava, your turn. Grab the mic.
I, on the other hand, have tried multiple things. I was not the person that knew what they wanted to do when they were 7 and did it. I feel like that's a very Sagittarius thing, is to
Totally.
keep trying different things until you find the one that fits. So I grew up being a ballerina for 18 years. I started with competitive dancing, then did strictly ballet. And then that's how I met Montana, was through dance. And I knew I wanted to continue dance through college, but also have like PR business minor. So I was planning on doing that. It was my plan all, my childhood and while I was growing up in high school, to be a professional dancer. And that kind of changed because I had different interest in cooking and fashion and PR. And so I knew when going to college, I wanted to do a little bit of both, because I wasn't ready to let go of ballet and dance, and because I always thought it was my identity, because I like did it when I was 2. But then I just like started trying different things, and I knew that it wasn't the right path for me. And so I then also came to New York. Before that, I tried to find any other school that wasn't in New York. So I would have a different, path than Fallon. I didn't want people to think that I was like, doing the exact same thing as her. I was like, I need to be my own person. And I feel like that's the younger sibling mentality as well. But I think I always said that I was like, I never wanted to come to New York, but it was meant for me. And like, I'm so glad I'm here. So I went to FIT as well, but I studied PR and marketing. So I was the business route while she was design. And it was the best decision I ever made. And being in New York has brought me so many different opportunities. And I got here and I started modeling. And then I quickly fell into the event world. And so currently I am a wedding and event planner, and been doing that for 5 years. And then we started the brand together. So a little bit of fashion, a little bit of events, also dabbled in some cooking, have my own website with all my recipes. And so it's a little bit of everything. I always say you can't put me in a box.
I love it. It's so true. And talking about turtlenecks, this is a perfect segue. Will you guys talk to us a little bit about the brand and where it came from and your mission behind it?
Yes. So Ava and I grew up always wearing turtlenecks, and we wore them so much that we started to become known for wearing them. People would think, I mean, like Montana said, like her turtleneck arms, like that even was, I mean, people knew that even before we started this brand. So over the pandemic, we came up with the idea to start the first and only turtleneck brand. Because we both went to FIT. I studied design, she started PR and marketing. We felt like we would make a good team, and we knew we always wanted to do something together. We just weren't sure what. But then that's when we had downtime to think. We were like, okay, turtlenecks. No one's ever started a perfect turtleneck brand. That should be us. So we started developing the perfect turtleneck. It took us 2 years. And then we went through rounds and rounds of prototypes, and we officially launched the brand in September 2022 with a pop-up shop in New York. And we've been, doing it ever since. And we're into it's been about a year and a half now, and we love it, and it keeps growing, and we keep doing different events and pop-ups and trunk shows and little things here and there. And yeah, it's a journey. It's a roller coaster of starting a business. We're learning so many new skills, things we have never done before, things that we're growing as people and in conjunction with growing as a brand and a business, which is really cool to look back on. I think starting a brand has given us so much more confidence in ourselves to know that we can do things we didn't think we could do. And so it's been, if anything, it's been a really fun and exciting journey. It's given us a lot of cool experiences. It's introduced us to so many new people that, we love meeting new people. And now a lot of our really good friends are from starting this brand, and that we would have never met if it weren't for the brand, which is really cool to think about. Some of our very close friendships have blossomed through starting this business, which I just feel like everything kind of, happens for a reason. So it's a fun experience.
We're also navigating this brand as working as sisters and as roommates, which is sometimes can be really interesting. But I think we definitely make a really great team. She has different skills than I do. I have different skills than she does. What I'm good at, she's not. What she's good at, I'm not. And so we really complement each other. And that's, I think, what makes our brand really successful. And I think it's when you start a brand, you have to be really passionate about the product and about what you're trying to build, because people are always asking, well, why turtlenecks? That's literally the first question we always get. And it is because we love them, and whenever we wear them, we feel confident, we feel powerful. We always say that you can wear a turtleneck on a date, to a business meeting, and to a black tie event. I wear turtlenecks all the time, and I just feel this sense of power, and I can do anything. And so when creating the brand, it wasn't just about creating the perfect turtleneck, because Fallon had her favorite turtleneck when we first started. I had my favorite, but there was never a perfect one. So we created that, but it was more about creating this brand that is empowering women to feel confident and feel powerful in what they're wearing, and just make them feel like they can do anything.
So special. I've never mentioned ages on this, but I have to let everyone know that Fallon's a year younger than me. So 28. Are you 28?
Yes,
And
yes.
Ava's 25?
24.
24. So the people that you just heard say those beautiful things are literally 24 and 28. You guys have a whole life of wisdom bottled up inside you. It's crazy to think that this is truly just the beginning. 24 and 28. May, are you kidding me?
Well, we owe a lot of our wisdom at a young age, I guess, to our mother.
Yeah.
And you know this, Montana, because she's like
a little shout out to our mom, because she's definitely going to be listening to this, but she's definitely made us who we are today for sure. And that's why
she guides us in the right direction, and she always keeps things in perspective for us. She helps us remember what's most important in life, what should be our priorities, and that is what keeps us focused and grounded, healthy mentally and physically. And we couldn't do this brand without her, that's for sure.
Yeah. I also think we both got into fashion because of her, because she always had such great style and was such an elegant woman. So, and she still is, and she always wore turtlenecks too.
She always wore turtlenecks.
She always wore a sleeveless turtleneck. That's what I always remember growing up. And so we launched the sleeveless turtleneck last spring,
and actually did the photo shoot with her. And so that was special.
Yeah. So we owe a lot to her.
Yeah, Vicky King is the GOAT for sure.
Yes.
My husband Matt was just talking about, he was telling me I'd never heard the term, I don't know why I never heard this before, but I'd never heard anyone use the term salt of the earth. I didn't know what that meant. And he was like, like Doug King. He's the only person I can think of who's like the salt of the earth. And that's their dad.
It's truly the salt of the earth. Our father has also been like such an amazing support system in this brand. I mean, like he just is like,
he's so selfless.
He's so selfless, and he believes in us. And even though he's not a fashion guy, he doesn't understand like some of these things, but he's just like, go for it. You got this. So proud of you.
He's a true girl dad, and girl dads who were in ballet, fashion, like really hard industries to be in. And he supported us no matter.
He was at every dance recital, every dance competition, like all. I mean, he's been great.
We need to have Vicky and Doug on next and ask
them. Right. Yeah,
we do. We have our guests do a survey before they come on, and at the last question is, who would you have on? Who would you like to have on the yoga show? The yoga show. It's called the Yoga Chat. What's wrong with me?
Get your shit together.
Yes. Anyways, Fallon said Vicky King, and I was like, that's a great idea. Other than the fact we should actually bring her on, and she can tell everyone why she doesn't really love hot yoga specifically. But we can have Aunt E on too, and she can talk about why she really, really doesn't like any type of yoga. And we'll be like, we're gonna get you on the mat. We're gonna get you on the mat.
You'll get a funny perspective.
Yeah,
having them on. Our mom's big into health and wellness, so she's all about it.
Yeah.
Well, we hear a lot from people who love yoga, so it's about time we hear from somebody that either hates it with a passion or is super apprehensive about it, so we could like just convince them and lobby them the entire time and get them to go.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I love it. FYI.
This is a perfect segue. So what originally got you guys into yoga? Did you guys did you go to your first class together or separate, or what?
Just real quick, I was thinking, doing the math in my head, I didn't realize you two, only because you're as successful as you are, I didn't realize you were so young. So the fact that you've been practicing yoga for almost 15 years is, so you started real young then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I started young there.
I started young because of ballet. They gave us we had our ballet classes and, point classes, like all of our classes that we needed to take, but we also had a Pilates class and a yoga class, to keep us from getting injured. And so I think that's what had me start in yoga. And then it wasn't until I moved to New York that I really started taking the practice seriously. There's this yoga studio in New York called Y7, and it is hot yoga, and it's dark, and it's just candles, and they play fun hip hop music. It's very, at the time, very millennial, I guess is what you want to call it. And I would go, I was a freshman in college, and I would go every single morning at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. before school, before anything. And I was so, I did that every single day for a good 2 years. And I don't think I've ever been healthier in my life or have been the happiest, or it just set me up with everything. I don't know how I had the energy to do that along with everything else. but I stayed with that routine, and that's how I really, really got into it. And I love hot yoga because I love to just like sweat everything out.
Sweating feels
It
good.
just feels
Same.
good. I just like, yeah. And it just, makes me feel good. And whenever I sweat everything out, it makes me look a little bit more like got that snatched jaw.
For sure. And shout out Y7. For some reason, this has come up like 3 times in my life in the past week. We were just talking about Y7 in our teacher training because one of the teacher trainees asked about formatting and essentially was like, could you do a flow and then move it breath to movement like more than once? And I was like, yeah, there's this yoga brand called Y7, and you do it 3 times. And each time you build on it, or you build on it, and make it more complex each and every time. And I've only been there once, and it was with you guys, and it was a blast.
So much
Yeah,
fun.
It's
So
not your
much fun.
normal, like, calm yoga, and they don't talk like the whole time. They kind of let you do your own thing, after a few times, after you like get the sequence down. So that's kind of fun too.
Totally.
Yeah,
So Fallon,
absolutely.
what originally got you started into yoga?
So ironically, it was one of my first yoga classes was with Erin and like
Oh,
who doesn't
wow.
even like, we were talking about who doesn't like yoga. But I think it wasn't a hot yoga class. It was just a regular yoga class. This was back when I was in middle school or high school. But it was very off and on back then in high school. I think I just enjoyed it because it was something different. And I was a cheerleader and I danced a little bit. But yoga was something different from dance and cheerleading. So I enjoyed that part of it. But I also started getting into yoga more when I moved to New York. Actually, it was really oh, you know what? I had to take a yoga class in college at FIT for some reason. That was a requirement. You had to take a phys ed class. So I chose yoga because I was so stressed out in college. So I felt like, okay, this would be a nice little break in my day to kind of, relax. And but then I did start going to Y7 through Ava when she moved here. And she introduced me to Y7 and I started going with her. I even went to some of the 6 a.m. classes with her. And Y7 is what really made me love yoga. I actually will credit Y7 for making me officially love yoga, because before then I didn't, like, I did it here and there, but I wasn't like super into it. But I think well, this also has to do with my fun fact, because I'm so obsessed with music. Music does so much for me. So Y7 having the fun music really is what got me going and what made me enjoy it more. And the dark atmosphere and the candles, it just like gave a really nice vibe, and it energized me too. So it didn't just, sometimes like the yoga class I took in college, I would actually fall asleep during it sometimes. And so that's not the kind of yoga I like. I mean, at the end, fine, but sometimes it could be kind of boring, but I think Y7 is what gave me energy, and it made me feel powerful, and the music got me going, and it was just a good atmosphere all around. So I would have to credit Y7 for my love of yoga.
I'm so with you on the playlist and the music in the class. I mean, I love yoga, I love cycling, I love exercise in general, but if the playlist doesn't slap, I'm looking at the clock the entire time and I'm like, when is this over?
I
It
absolutely
means
agree with you.
everything.
It
And me
does.
and
It does.
Montana talk about this a lot too, because a lot of people are a little bit, black and white on whether music should even be played in a yoga class. And some people think it takes away from honoring how it originated. And there's validity to that. But I also think that whenever we talk to people and ask them about their best or favorite experiences in a yoga class, 9 times out of 10, they bring up that they heard a great song that reminded them of, their high school days, or they just heard that one song that made the whole hour like, oh, I heard that song and just fucking made everything good. And so I think for that, music should never be banned from yoga. It just gets people there. It makes them feel good. It gets them out of their head. And it's kind of like, why not combine two things that get people out of their heads and put them all in the same place? And then you just have magic.
I completely agree with you. And I actually find, like, listening to music to be a form of meditation for me. When I want to just zone out and be peaceful, I'll just put on music. My favorite is like listening to music in the car or, in a cab or whatever. I just zone out, look out the window, and listen to music. That's my form of meditation. So when there's music involved in yoga, I am fully just like in my happy place. So
Yeah.
Rainbow laser beams coming out of your head.
I also will say I won't do yoga unless it is hot yoga. And that is because I don't feel like I get like enough out of it. And I'm a person who loves to work out, loves to, I do like sculpt class, I do HIIT workouts, I do cardio. Like I have tried every workout class like in New York that you can imagine. And I love feeling tight and toned. And I feel like I don't feel that unless I'm like either sweating or something. I know it's good for like, just like low impact workouts and, stuff like that. But for me, after I work out, I want to feel like tight and I want to be sore the next day. And so that's why I love that at Y6, you guys, at Yoga 6, sorry. You guys do the yoga sculpt class, which I'm obsessed with. I feel so good after that. And it's a mix of both.
I think you might have come to one of my classes once because I remember Montana was supposed to be there or something and she couldn't make it at the last minute, but I think you still came. I think we met, right?
Yes.
I think it was a Tuesday morning.
Okay. That's
Probably.
right.
I've taken both of your classes. Yeah, I love them. Yeah.
That's when you were teaching over at Point Park, I think, Montana, and I was covering your class that day. And so she got stuck with me instead of you, even though you're not much better.
I was like,
and I mean, not in the terms of better teaching, just who's
no.
meaner in class. Because Montana she's one of the people that are mean to you, but she's saying it in a really beautiful way. So you don't realize it's really hard because she's like, embrace your beautiful, creative mountains and poetry and roses. And so you're like, this is so nice. And then she's like, no, hold this chaturanga for a fucking minute. So you're sneaky.
I did make May do that last time she came to my sculpt class. I was like, and for your hold, come to a high plank, lower your knees, bend your elbows, pause right there. 1 minute. And May just looked at me and was like, a minute? I was like, a minute, one whole minute. Also, for whatever reason this week, I don't know why, but I've been unintentionally really kicking asses. I accidentally did it on Tuesday in my sculpt class, and then I accidentally did it again this morning in power. Sometimes when you're teaching, you'll look out into the crowd, into the sea of humans, and when you see like most of the class just looking at you like, it's like, oh, there's a line and I've crossed it, but we've already done one side. So sorry, guys, we have one more side. It was 6 a.m. too. So all of those people, if you're listening and you were in this class, that was an accident. Sorry. Rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. No, I've taken both of your classes and they're both incredibly hard, but in the best way. So I love it.
I remember too, Fallon came once after, I think you guys were at the Jonas Brothers concert.
Yes, we were.
Fallon didn't know what kind of format or class she was showing up for. And she just like so sweet was just like, I'm coming after the Jonas Brothers concert. And she showed up and she was like, just so you know, I'm not, 100% right now. And I was like, it's a restore class. And she's like, oh my God, thank you.
Exactly what I need.
Yeah.
Normally I would need more than that, but I'm like, no, this is perfect.
Yeah, after a concert. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good hangover class.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also I don't think I've ever taken your class, May, but Montana's class, I mean, your voice, it also like your voice in combination with the music, it's perfect. Like it's so soothing. Like it's not going to make me fall asleep soothing. It's the perfect. That's why I love your classes.
Well, thank you. People used to always say to me when I was a kid, like, you've got such a great voice. Why don't you sing? And I'm like, I don't even sing happy birthday out loud. And now I feel I don't, I'm like mouthing the words, but unless I really love you or I'm drunk. But now as an adult, I oftentimes think it's crazy that like in retrospect, people would always ask me, what are you going to do with that voice? And it's like, now my voice is my instrument, but it's my speaking voice. Like I don't have to sing to use my voice as my instrument. So
Maybe
speaking
we
of,
need to get into recording some like, music. Let that be your next endeavor. Let's just start
Yeah.
recording music. Fuck it.
meditations, how about meditations? Like music,
Actually, you
that
should.
scares me.
That is.
That would be great. If you did some meditations in your Montana voice, I'd buy it.
I
No,
do
Whatever's
put
Montana,
on
you
a
fun.
Montana voice.
get on the Calm app. They do like the bedtime
Yes.
stories and you fall asleep to those.
Yes, I should. Last thing that I'll say about my voice is my really good friend from high school. His name's Alec Gullidge. Shout out. I'm going to send him this episode and be like, I shouted you out. Now you have to listen to all of them. He used to say to me, "You sound like Delilah. Can you put me to sleep?" I'm like,
Yes.
that is the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. I'm Delilah. Delilah. Look, I sang.
Yeah. No, you're really Delilah.
Oh wow.
Okay, well, on a totally different note, I've been thinking about this, so I want to make sure that I bring it up. I'm pretty sure I know the type of music May likes, and I'm like 99% sure I know the type of music that Fallon likes, and I'm pretty sure it's very similar. Fallon, aren't you like a Daft Punk very big fan? Did I make
So,
that up?
I wouldn't say Daft Punk is like my all-time favorite, but it has a special place in my heart because that was Uncle Eddie's favorite,
I see.
Yeah. So Daft Punk will always have a special place in my heart because that was my Uncle Eddie's favorite band and we bonded over music. But I would say my favorite music is genres. It's like new disco and like funk, soul, indie pop. That's actually a full genre on Spotify that I found out. That's my top genre. So like my top artists are Jungle, Disclosure, Neil Francis, Drama, and Tom Misch. Those are my top. But Jungle is like number one. So, the Back on 74 song that was trending on TikTok for a little bit. I found it before it was TikTok famous though. But I
I've
definitely
been on repeat listening to Neil Francis Dumb Love over and over again. That's my favorite.
yeah,
I think my people in my classes are going to get so sick of hearing it because I've put it on like every playlist for 3 weeks and I keep thinking like, oh, I'm going to retire it. But I'm like, it's just so good and happy and it makes everybody's foot tap. Like when I see everybody's foot tapping on the mat, I know that it's good. So I'm
Yeah.
going to keep playing it until the foot stop tapping. And that's the gauge.
Yeah, Neil
Yes.
Francis is a good like modern disco beat. He's good vibes for sure. Or
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
Ava, what's your
I didn't
favorite
realize
kind
that
of
was
music?
considered new disco. I'm going to
Yeah,
have
that's
to.
a new disco is apparently a genre that was my top genre on my Spotify Wrapped was new disco.
Interesting. I'm looking that up.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ava, what's your favorite kind of music?
I like a mix. And I know that's like a very like typical answer that everyone says, but
Me too.
I like everything. I love the Beatles. Big jazz fan. I love anything jazz. I love Michael Bublé. I listen to him all the time. Um, I like some Tom Misch. I like Jungle. Fallon loves to show me some new songs, and when I tell her, "Oh, I like this," she gets really excited.
I do. I love showing music. I'm like, oh my gosh, you like it?
But I also can go a little country sometimes. It depends on the song, but I can go a little country sometimes.
I cannot do country.
Yeah, and I like some oldies. I like some 80s. And I'm a pop girl. I do love like the top 40 hits. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just like some fun music that I can dance around my room with and like get ready. I put my music in while I do my makeup and get ready, and I just want something that's gonna make me feel good. So that's what I like.
Yeah, that's what music's for after all. So going back to yoga a little bit, how has your practice changed? Ava, you said that like, when you started doing it more seriously in college and you were going every single morning, just like everybody, we have our own ebb and flow with the practice. So how has your practice changed since then to now?
Also, I just want to say bravo on being a person that was in college, waking up 6
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning to go to yoga because I was not that person.
I
I
don't know.
can't even imagine, but like that's probably why you own a business and you're 24 years old because you're not dicking around. So congratulations, but
Yeah.
also like bravo.
I'm glad you
That's an
brought that
amazing
up.
habit.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's like for better or for worse, I know them. So like I like let these things slide, but it's like, wait, yeah, let's take a moment to just point out and highlight the fact that Ava was going to 6 a.m. yoga every day in college.
Freshman, no less.
I don't even
I
want to do that now.
I know. We don't do it anymore.
I don't do it now. So it's funny. I don't even know how I did it then. And I was in college. I was going out. And so I would go out like on like a Thursday night at like 11 and with all my friends. And then I would literally wake up at 6 a.m. and still go to my yoga class, even if I went out the night before.
That I don't understand.
I don't know how I did it. I could never do that again. But that's what I did.
Flabbergasted.
I don't know. But yeah, I was just like addicted. I got like this high from it. I guess every morning, and I was like, I just need to do it. So, but yeah, so I took that really seriously. And then so I was in college when the pandemic hit. So obviously like I couldn't go anymore. And hot yoga was like the first workout class to like shut down. So I stopped doing that and I started obviously doing all the at-home workouts. And then I got into doing some other types of workouts and I moved back to New York. Well, we went back to Pittsburgh during the pandemic a little bit, then we went back to New York. And so I didn't get back into it because it wasn't open for a while. And so I started trying other different workout classes in the city. And so I never like had that routine again with it. And then also like when I got out of college, like right when I graduated, I had a whole different routine and I started working and, I had to wake up earlier for work and didn't have as much time to, go to a yoga class. And I think I just like started getting into different workouts. But I don't know, it's making me want to get back into it just talking about it. So get back to doing some hot yoga soon. But yeah, I think I just do a little bit of everything now. I guess that works for me.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's an ebb and a flow for everybody. And I've said it before and I'll say it again because I think it's so important, but yoga is that thing that it's always going to be there. It's like your mom, or like your sister. And so it's like, even if, you have to be distant from it for a little bit of time, just because there's other things you're focusing on, it's always going to be there. So when you're ready to pick back up, it's like just waiting for you to roll out your mat, no judgment. And it's like, great, glad it fits back and it's in alignment with where your life's at in this moment. So and I mean, Lord knows that I've had an ebb and a flow with the practice and even teaching. May and I have been talking about this a lot recently. It's really easy to get out of the practice of being a student. And once you get back into it, it's like, oh my God, immediately. It's like, how have I been teaching this without regularly practicing this? But it is, it's not always easy. Like once it's just like, I think it takes it to a whole new level when you teach it, because to go to any workout class at some point in everyone's life, you have that, we all know the feeling of like, oh, I don't want to go. And then once you're there, you're like, I'm so happy that I came. And it gets, I don't want to say it's harder, but it's different. It's challenging in a new way when you teach it and you're teaching it all the time. And then to be like, oh, now I'm going to stay here in this hot room for another hour or 75 minutes to take it. Like that's really hard to do. And then as soon as it gets started, it's like, you're like, God, I'm so happy I'm here. I need to do this more often, but it's an ebb and a flow. So we all have to be gracious.
And just like looking back, I remember like when I was doing it every single day, I was getting like really good. I was doing like my crows and I was doing like my headstands. I was like, wow, I'm getting really good at this. And then when I stopped, and I took a class, I was like, wow, like I could barely balance. Like it's like hard to get back into it. And I was like, wow, I used to be able to do this stuff. And you just got to keep practicing. But
yeah, that's a good point. That's why Matt doesn't practice right now. So he's like, I've just taken too much time off. And he's like, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to like pick back up where I left off. And I'm not going to be able to. And I know I'm just going to get frustrated. And I'm like, but that's the practice. You just have to breathe through it. And he's like, I'm truly not mentally prepared to like accept that. I'm like, all right, well, you're just making it harder and harder every year you wait to get back on your mat.
No, I get frustrated when I like fall out of like my balance. I'm like, what am I doing? Like I was a ballerina, like I should be able to balance.
It's crazy.
But,
Fallon, will you tell us about your like the journey of your yoga practice since Why 7, since you got into it with Ava?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Ava helped me keep that routine. Like she motivated me, seeing her going every morning. So that made me want to go more. But of course, work got busy and I think it's just hard. It was so much easier for me to go to the gym in our apartment building than go walk a couple blocks in Manhattan and go to a class every morning. So I think that's where I never stuck to a routine like Ava did with the workout classes because I have to work out in the morning. I have to. And so I'm not like a after work kind of workout person. So if I didn't work out in the morning, it's not going to happen. And it just took time out of my day to go all the way to a class when I had to be at work at a certain time. So it was just more convenient to go in my building. But there's nothing better than the feeling I get after a class. So it is something that I kind of treat myself with now, but it's something that is yoga. I always feel good after yoga, but it is something that I struggle with being present a lot of the time. And I think that if I practice yoga more, that would help me with that. So I think again, talking about this is motivating me to get, back or to do it more. I think that's the whole practice, especially Y7 it's nothing that I can't do physically. It's the mental part that is hard for me to really stay present. Or I'm like thinking about, oh, this is such a great song. Then the song reminds me of like a memory, and then my mind wanders and I'm not always thinking about, just being present. So it is something that I feel like I should practice more. Um, and I think that would, because my mind's like going a mile a minute and life is so busy. New York is so crazy that I think it is important to keep that in my practice, to remember to meditate and to have that time to just focus on you and your body and your mind. And um, yeah, I think it's just something um that I should treat myself with more. Because it's something that I don't always have time for, and I wish I had more time for it. And I've been taking a lot of Pilates classes lately, and that also because it's similar to yoga, um, but I don't get the same mental meditation from Pilates as I do with yoga, and maybe I need that more because my life can be really stressful and crazy sometimes. But every time when I come home to Pittsburgh and I take, your class, Montana, like that is something that I look forward to because it's something that I don't get to do all the time. And I don't, and when I have the time to do it, it's nice. And when you come to visit New York and we go together, like I'll never forget that day that we went and took that class together and
At
we
Core
were walking
Power,
back.
right?
Yeah, at Core Power, yes. And we had the best conversation on our walk back. And I think maybe that had to do with the fact that we were both like finally like so present in the moment doing our class. And then I just felt motivated and inspired, and we had a really good conversation on our walk home, and you were telling me everything that you wanted to do and your teaching and how you're teaching you want to make it different from how that particular teacher taught, and I loved your perspective on it. And it really does, like, I don't know, coming out of a yoga class, you're looking at the world differently. And I did notice that day. And I'll never forget that. That was a really special, special day together.
It was. I love too that for whatever reason, this is going to sound so cliche, but whenever we were walking through, like, I don't know if it was like a floral shop or what, but there was this one point where we were just like surrounded by flowers, and the colors were like so much brighter. We were
Yeah,
like, and it was
right.
like raining outside, and the colors of the flowers were just like bright, and it was such a good walk home, and it was such great conversation. And I think that's such a great reminder too, that like instead of kind of going back to what I said before, but like about how when you don't want to show up to yoga or to a workout class or to whatever it is that is going to benefit you in a positive way, it's not just once you get going that it feels good. It's what happens after that feels so
Yes.
good.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
It's
You
so
never regret
true.
taking a class or working out after.
Never regret
Just
it.
hard getting there in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
But
often,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I almost think of it sometimes as a social thing too here, because I
Mhm.
don't have time to do it all the time. I usually, if I am going to take a yoga class, it'll be on the weekends, and then I'll invite a friend to come with me, or like when we went, for instance, that just makes the whole experience even more enjoyable, because you're going with a friend, and then you'll go to brunch after, and then you'll have like a great time together, and your mind's at peace after that. So I think I enjoy things a lot more after my class, as opposed to going somewhere if I didn't have the class, because I feel good about the fact that I made the effort to go to a class and work on my mind and body, and that cleanses your mind, keeps you more focused, and I truly enjoy everything more after that. So it's good for, like, a social event as
Yeah,
well.
I agree with that. I actually met my best friend through a workout class. I mean, like, we went to the same workout class, and we were it was during the pandemic. We were on Zoom um taking a class, and she actually like DM'd me, and she was like, I see you in my Zoom workout classes. She was like, we should, get together. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, don't even know her. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I invited her over to my apartment to do a workout class through Zoom on my rooftop, because it still like wasn't, couldn't do anything inside yet. And then we just like became best friends. We started working out together all the time. And then, yeah, and now we've been best friends for 4 years. So I think
I love that that's a DM story that's not creepy and it turned out
I
nice,
I know.
The
Yeah.
only time someone slid
Friends
into
slid
your
into my
DMs and you're like,
DM.
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love all of
That's
that
cute.
too, because it brings
I'll
it
show you.
back to what we talk so much about, which is like, yes, the yoga is there and it's great and it's amazing, but beyond that, and all the things we're talking about, like how good it makes you feel during and after, but beyond that, like the community aspect of it is really like almost every single person that we have on here, somehow, some way, this gets brought up, and it's like, and it's some may like, I'm sure will agree with me. It's like toward the end of the conversation, we always end up right here at at community. And I think that's the coolest part. I said last week that I think the cool thing about a yoga community is that we have lots of different communities in our lives, right? We have like our families, we have like your religious communities, your schools, whatever. But yoga is like the only community where any person from any walk of life can show up. And the common denominator, like what's bringing you to the community, is the opportunity to move and breathe, the opportunity to literally just feel alive and really good. And so I think that's why the community of yoga and any sort of health and wellness community is so much more, I don't want to say like powerful in the sense of like what it can do, even though that's true too, but why it feels so much more powerful than just like any other community is because it's like there really isn't, we're all coming from different walks of life with different backgrounds, and we're all just there to feel good,
That's
feel
really
I think
beautiful.
everybody's
vitalized.
coming like from a place of wanting to improve themselves.
Hmm.
Like, and so I think when everybody's just coming to this common place where, they might not improve themselves in a way that they feel like they're less than, but they're just there because they want to do something that makes them feel good, that makes them feel better. And so when you come in with that mindset, I think any other person that you encounter, you're going to be much more open to like a positive interaction than heading into a place that makes you feel like shit or that makes you feel anxious. But you're all coming from this like open-minded place where you're like, I'm going to try this thing because I crave to feel better than I feel right now. And if you're all coming together in that, it just kind of makes everybody better to each other at the same time. So I just feel like, you had a friend DM you because you all work out together, and it's just like that idea of like this, seeing other people trying to better themselves and just like being attracted to that in someone, because
Yeah.
that's what we all want.
So true.
Mhm.
I feel like yoga really can make this world a better place. It sounds so cheesy, but I feel like if everyone just took, if everyone on this earth took the time to take a yoga class, I think this world would be a lot more kind to each other and more peaceful. And like, I even had this thought at, the last time I was at Y7. So this thought just came to me, seeing all these different people we don't know each other in this class, but we all live in the city, and I'm sure we all have very hectic lives, especially living in the city. And we are all coming together to actually take a moment and pause and help our mind and body and help our and want to improve ourselves. And we're all coming from different, like, actually, it's funny, the teacher in Y7 will always start off with, whatever's on your mind, put it aside right now, because I'm sure they know that, like, we're all thinking about, and most of the people at Y7 are millennials, like on the younger side. So our lives are crazy, and these are years of our lives that have a lot of change and a lot of stress, and I think it's interesting to see us all come together in one space and kind of put all of that aside and just focus on being in that room together and moving and meditating, and it's really cool. And I think I remember, Montana, I think that was part of our conversation on the walk back from our class, how you teaching yoga can actually, and the way you teach it can actually change someone and change the way they live. And it can change the world a little bit, which is really cool.
We didn't even ask you our last question, and that you just answered it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's perfect timing too, because we're coming up on an hour. So now it was perfect. So now we'll ask Ava. Ava, do you think yoga can change the world? Yes
Oh my gosh,
or no? And why?
that
Swear
was
to
the
God.
actual-
Yes.
I think it's maybe because we talked about that on our little conversation.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if Ava was just like, no, I don't think it can change the world.
Actually, no, I don't.
And then we just ended it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening,
let me give you a
guys.
different perspective.
Yeah.
No, I do think it can, for sure, because like you walk in and you're just super present. And I think I was the happiest when I came out of yoga class, and I also felt really empowered and really motivated, and I had the energy I had the energy to go to school and then go do all my extracurricular activities. And I think if more people were just happy and energized, and like, yoga is like nature's caffeine. Like, you don't like, caffeine makes people anxious and crazy. Yoga makes you feel calm and energized. So I think if more people feel that way, we'll be more productive and kinder than us being like burned out and anxious. So
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think it can change the world in that way.
That's what May and I call the juice.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Love it.
Fallon, you mentioned a bunch of people that come from different places and they're showing up for different reasons, and you're all in a space together and you're listening to music and you're moving your body. And me and Montana, and we've talked about this in a couple episodes, just like we always think about it in the same way as going to a concert where everybody's there and there's just like this collective energy that you can't really describe and you don't know where it comes from, but it's just kind of I always talk about this. I would love to study that. And Montana thinks that one day, she said did you have a dream that I had patches on people's heads and I was like studying their brain?
It wasn't a dream. It's just like a vision in my head that I have, like, truly a manifestation.
I'm so wacky scientist.
Yeah, I'm just manifesting. I just have it. I just see May at some point, like, diving deep into the study of like how the energy of a concert can be directly correlated to the energy of a yoga class when it's done correctly and everyone's on the same page, just like at a concert.
And everybody leaves with that buzz that they can't describe. And like,
yeah.
not every yoga class has it, not every concert has it, but like when you have it, you can look around and you know everyone else is feeling it too. And it's just like a buzz that's electric and you're all sharing it. And like you get it in yoga, you get it in concerts. And there's the only two places that I've ever had that experience was like group fitness, group yoga, or concerts where everybody's just there and they're so fucking in it. And it just produces magic. And I'll figure it out someday when I become a wacky scientist and put suction cups in people.
May said,
That's so true.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that it's really the only two places that that gives you that for sure.
It's so true. When I first told May that I had that vision, she was like, "Well, I don't think I'm going back to school to get my PhD, so I don't think anyone's going to let me put stickers on their brain." You know, the like wiry
Put a
stickers.
Craigslist ad out and just be like, would you like to be part of my fucked up experiment? Get back to me. We'll see.
All right. Well, thank you ladies so much for spending some time with us. It's an honor and a treat
Yeah,
to get to hear
this
your
is fun.
story and your background. Yeah, I wish that I had the words to articulate just how inspiring and just wise beyond your years you both are. And I'm just so honored to know you and love you and get to be a third sister. Truly.
Oh,
Thank
we love you
We
so
love
much.
you. And this was so much fun. Thank you for having us on.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. One last thing, can you tell our listeners where they can find you on Instagram?
Oh,
Yeah, so I guess you can find me on Instagram at Ava or underscore Ava King underscore.
and
And
you can
Fallon.
find me at Fallon, Fallon _King. And then you can find our brand at Fallon and Ava.
And then fallonandava.com if you want to find our website.
Yeah, I highly recommend the turtlenecks. I think I have 3 at this point.
And you look beautiful.
The bow, the classic blue, and the pink sleeveless. Those are what I have. And they're amazing.
Thanks.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night,
You're
and
welcome.
we will see you soon. Bye, May.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Bye.